Hello, this is Martin George, Education Correspondent at the Eastern Daily Press and Norwich Evening News. I'm with Brian Conway, the head teacher of Notre Dame High School in Norwich and also chair of the Norfolk Secondary Education Leaders. And we'll be talking about some of the challenges coming up in the new academic year. Brian, what do you see the main challenges or changes being in this year?
We've got a whole series of changes that are taking place in education. We've got the national curriculum which has been revised and introduced from September. We've got a new examination and accountability system which has had an impact already upon schools across Norfolk in terms of the curricula and the courses that are now recognised as part of the performance and accountability measures within schools. We've got exam changes that are coming up, changes to GCSEs to make them more rigorous, and also in some subjects such as English and Maths there's some changes with the way they're even going to be graded, and we have to plan for those. And we also, post-16, because we've got students who do A-levels with us, we've got changes because the A-level courses are changing and AS levels are being decoupled from A2s. It means that there's no real point for many subjects in doing AS levels. The students will be starting on courses that will just be simply straight through 2 years and do A2s. You've also got then the challenge of an election this year. The two main parties have got differing points of view and different things that they want to do. One example, a very clear example, is that Labour has indicated that as soon as they get elected, they will recouple AS levels, and AS levels will be back in as an important constitutional part of A2s. Now, we are a little bit waiting for what's going to happen in the election. So you've got within schools responding to changes that we know are going to take place, such as introducing the curriculum, the new accountability measures, but also that little bit of not knowing exactly what's going to happen depending on the outcome of the election.
Okay. Lots to get through. The new curriculum is starting now. As an academy, you don't have to follow it, but I think it will still influence what you're doing here.
It will still influence. The national curriculum, which is compulsory in those that are local authority maintained schools, it doesn't have to be followed by academies. However, academies do have to pay good attention to it because it will be measured in the exams that come through. For example, the GCSEs are very likely to have, they'll reflect the national curriculum that's in place. So as much as an academy you might want to completely ignore or veer away or do something different as a broad and balanced curriculum, you'd be very unwise to. And any of my academy colleagues have looked very carefully at the national curriculum. It's got big changes in English, for example. There's a return to a sort of a traditional literature-based curriculum within English. Some of the classic British playwrights and authors being brought back into the English curriculum. And you can see that is having an impact, and that will have an impact on my English department here, even though we're an academy. You'll see it as well in primary schools, and one of the big things that's been mooted in primary school national curriculum has been the introduction of computing. And even academies that are primary schools will be, I suspect, introducing computing because it will be a core part of the school. So as much as academies are free, they are very unwise if they ignore the national curriculum. It is an evolution of what we're doing, but it's not revolution, I think.
Okay. Now I know we just the other week had our GCSE results for Norfolk came through.
Yep.
What did you make of the overall picture in Norfolk, and what do you think will happen over the next year because of how different schools fared?
It's very, very difficult because when you look at how schools, not just in Norfolk but nationally, have done, we were warned that this was going to be a period of turbulence, and Ofcall were very clear in writing to schools and to parents and saying that this is what we can expect. Now, the only thing we can say at the minute is that we are in still quite a difficult period in trying to work out how individual schools have done, how local authorities have done, how even we've done nationally, because you've got so much exam change that's taken place this summer. So much change that's taking place in the courses that are now counted towards the big accountability measures, the 5 more S stars, including English and Maths, for example. And you've got schools that seem to have gone up, schools that seem to have gone down. The key thing, I think, is that they are still the same schools that they were 6 months ago, a year ago, and they're still doing a really good job. What's happening is that the exam system and the performance and accountability systems are changing, and we are seeing that reflected in some aspects of what's going on in schools. Now, schools will be analysing very carefully what's happened this summer. We'll be trying to work out what's best, not just for the headline figures, but actually what's best for the students, because that's what our main job is, to make sure that the students are leaving us with good, valuable qualifications, able to take them into further education, or take them into apprenticeships and jobs as well. So it may be that headline figures dip, but actually students are still getting a really good deal. And we know that when you look at Norfolk, Norfolk seems to have held up initially. It looks reasonably okay. But it's very, very early days. We have to see how that compares to other local authorities. And I'm hopeful that Norfolk will have actually stayed floating reasonably highly, and other local authorities may unfortunately have taken a little bit of a dip at this time. Very early days to say at the minute, though.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Now, I know Ofsted has been a huge influence in Norfolk over the past year or two.
Yeah.
And nationally, there are changes this year to how it operates and inspects schools.
Yes.
What are those, and what effect do you think they'll have?
I think you can probably see it most interesting when you look at the Ofsted guidance in response to the Trojan horse incidents in Birmingham. There seems to be a real emphasis within Ofsted in making sure that there is a promotion of British values and British culture. Now, that's something I think that schools across Norfolk would have a very strong track record with, so I think there's an issue there. But there are other changes that are taking place within the Ofsted regime, changes within the way in which they go and they inspect schools. But overall, if you look at the last year and the focus that Ofsted has had on Norfolk, it seems to be having, I wouldn't say necessarily Ofsted, what's happening is that schools are responding and actually doing a really good job. There's a real desire amongst the head teachers to improve schools, to work together, and working in NCEL, for example, to work with the local authority. They've had a very, very effective programme, Norfolk to Good and Great, and these are having impacts in the way that Ofsted is viewing Norfolk. It's very nice to see over the summer that the local authority was recognised as being now effective for school improvement. So Ofsted, even though it's had a strong scrutiny, and it's one of the things that does make schools nervous, we have to live with it, but it's interesting to see that Norfolk seems to be actually improving in how Ofsted are looking at us, and that's really good, because it means that there's more students in Norfolk schools that are good, there's more students that seem to be getting that support, and that's just really, it is good, it's very positive.
Yeah. I think, talking to people at County Hall, the message seems to be that, yes, it's good that Ofsted has recognised that, but still lots more to do.
Still, absolutely. You look at the focus that there's been over the last year on schools, the focus of the Norfolk to Good and Great programme, which is only the first year of a 3-year programme after all. You look and say that's been a really good impact over a year, but there's still, as you say, a long way to go. The local authority are very aware of schools that might be causing concern. They're being very proactive in intervening and working with those schools and supporting them. NCEL, we're offering support to head teachers who might feel that there's areas that they could benefit from as well. And we're in a good position. We're making improvements. Things are clearly getting better for students and schools across Norfolk, and we want to continue that journey, but it's in the right direction.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it, and I hope you have a good year.
Thank you very much.